Now I feel like I'm stuck in an ugly position because of my cheating. Um, okay, great. I've made some decision here. But how long should these guys be allowed to stand on the ridge while part of their unit's charging that way? Uh, Here's what I'm ruling as yet another off-the-cuff type decision. If I can't get out of charge formation, they're going to have to come down. They're going to have to pay a price. The unit's just in that kind of situation. So, I want to get into... I don't know. I think I want to be back in receive charge, but I can't do that. I think I'll go down to make ready, which means I need a 0 through 5 back to make the change. And that happens. Okay, I think I forgot to flip him. So that little cav wing ended up switching to rally and trying to do its best to reform so that it really threatens the infantry here. The infantry is not, obviously I couldn't keep it in charge. I made the roll and it stays in make ready. My feeling there was, look, if I can't make the conversion back, the unit is going to charge. Just the cohesion, etc., of being involved in this partial charge. I probably shouldn't break the rules like that at all, but anyway, it is how I play, and when I see something that I don't like. So what happened over here, the Swedes tried to pull back from the charge, failed, and had to hit with 2 units, and ended up driving this guy back to about here. He took an activation after they failed to get a continuation, and pulled back to where he can try to recover. Now, what about this butthead? Move him too. Okay. Now it's over on the Danes again, because the only Swedish unit that hasn't activated is in receive charge formation right now. And we had an exchange of fire there that didn't do a lot. I think, yeah. So now over here I'm going to be hitting, I'm going to be trying to take this cav on a charge again. Right now I've got 1, 2, there's got to be a third one kicking around somewhere. I don't know what happened to him. Did he die? I guess he's dead. Yeah, so I've got 2 cav here, and I'm going to try to put them into charge so that I can try to drive these guys back off the hill. So the Danish countercharge and subsequent actions ended up with them in rally state. They failed to push the Swedes off the hill. Please go away. And there we are at the end of 12 turns. Now, this little area here would have been the entirety of the historical scenario. Clearly the battle is not over yet. It's taken me a long time. The infantry has not been able to get up to charge. They wanted to, they haven't. Convert this. And we're seeing a mess over here. And this, while it isn't a mess, is where a significant piece of fighting is happening. This is a threat. As soon as that can contact, using fire by introduction or whatever, or just moving forward, these infantry become essentially stuck. It's not forced. They can try, they can turn and everything, but they'll be taking so much fire to cope with that they really kind of want to stay there, so they may want to consider pulling out soon. The problem is, you pull out, you lose the stream advantage, and it's just a hard position. I mean, it's just Swedes coming from too many directions at this point, and they can't let Swedes across the river. They can't allow the supply train to be caught. So they're really getting caught in this position where they have nowhere to go and not a lot of good choices. And that's all because I swung that extra cav around. But if I hadn't, this cav would have probably been able to take the infantry from behind anyhow. Hard situation. But the game's got a lot of luck in it. Danes could still pull something off here. Here we are, me moving very slowly on turn 12 of Halmstad. Let's see what happened. So, the initial part of the turn was more or less the Swedes who were in charge mode switched over to make ready, moved up the hill crest, and started reforming, preparing for a real attack coming from equal altitude, whatever, with the cav that the Danes had positioned. Now, the Danes saw an opportunity to shift over to try to defend against this other cav wing, or actually put some pressure on it, and they moved first their one unit cav wing, which is actually their left wing, and then they tried to get into charge mode with the infantry. After positioning the infantry and getting a continuation, they positioned their infantry so that they wouldn't have to come charging down the hill. And we're hoping to get a chance to drive into those cav and at least do some introduction fire, and or scatter them back across the stream or into worse position or whatever. That didn't happen. So after that shifting around, which actually increased their defensive position along the stream, but they didn't fire their artillery. They held their artillery. The infantry, the Swedish infantry, was able to receive charge orders, and fire by introduction knocked out the gun. And otherwise we're seeing kind of a trade-off. For the most part, well, we've had a couple fire by introductions, but for the most part the Danes have been able to shoot a little bit more. I think the casualties are about equal across the board. We're going to see if the Danes can, or the Swedes can continue their attack. Neither side really wants to engage in close combat across the stream, so they're just going to stand across it and fire at each other right now. Certainly the Danes do not want to attack across the stream, with cav wandering around in their back end. And the Swedes don't particularly want to either. They think the cav is going to win them the game. So they just want to pin that infantry in place, which they're doing fine. So one of those interesting kind of situations, the Swedes were trying to rally over here with their cav. And they did a, I don't know what they call it, interception? Interception, yeah. With this entire wing of one unit, smashed into one of the units that was trying to rally and broke it. It was not at great odds there. But then, after doing that, they fumbled into this next unit, which fired a pistol shot at me, did casualties, and then engaged in close combat, even though they're rallying. Had a slight advantage in odds, but rolled really poorly, broke itself, had nowhere to retreat to, took 2 casualties from the retreat, and then, well, it didn't get pursued and destroyed. We had a leader loss check, though, that was successful on the Danish side. Anyway, that looks like about the end of the turn. I've got the routes to take care of. This guy's pretty much destroyed. He's got nowhere to go. This guy will be crossing the stream. And then we'll be moving to turn 13. Okay, I misspoke. Getting my games confused here. Forget about the unable to retreat table. That's where we actually saw things happen, and so we have to roll a leader loss check. The unit was actually destroyed in the initial combat. I believe he's going to force this guy. No, he doesn't have to go forward, and he doesn't want to. But we do have a casualty possibility for the leader. And he's out of the game. It's the left wing. Here on turn 13, the Swedes opened things up with a string of salvo fire all the way down the line, and they also did some introduction fire, or fire by introduction, over on the flank. The salvo fire did not work well. They took a lot worse than they gave. A lot of their units are now shaken. They're still going to go forward. They're going to charge. I can't help myself. Okay, I lied. After calculating the odds, only one attack seemed valuable. And that was with one unit against this one. And there I had, I guess, a +2 overall. These guys would be at penalties. This guy was actually going to degrade the value of the attack. So I did what I could. Took some fire coming in, no harm there. Destroyed the unit that was there. And I think got a good exchange. Wow. Yeah. I mean, there really weren't any other options. Alright. From there, I don't know where to go. I think I've got to try getting into some sort of situation where I can start rallying, or at least forming. Because trading shots at this point, especially after those salvo fires, is really not going to be good. Okay, so after that initial engagement the Swedes made across the river, and they formed up a pretty decent line there. We saw this unit formed up by the king, and they took some fire. I think they may have taken a casualty from that. He ran away and went to work with these guys. These guys are on a charge order now, and had kind of a bounce. 2 units against 1 at like +2 total. They did not get a tremendous effect off of it. So the Danes are holding them off on that side. Over on this side, the Danes are reforming and preparing themselves to cope with that cav however best they can. Right now it's really a balanced situation, I think. Yes, the Swedes have more numerically, I think, but they're having trouble finding a way to really bring that to bear given the terrain. I kind of like how it's fallen out for the Danes. Of course, if one of their units falls, at least key ones, this guy, their cav, what's left of their poor little cav, if one of their units falls, it looks a lot worse real quickly. Okay, and now that's the end of 13 turns, on to the 14th. So, the big thing that happened, really, was the Danes getting to fire back. And the Swedes paid the majority of the price there, by far. Just with the weather penalty, the introduction fire was not very good. And this heavy infantry with regimental artillery table is just ugly to receive the first real full shot from. The shot that they got when they were doing the introduction fire wasn't as bad. For whatever reason, the rolls or whatever, this time they really paid their price, and the return fire did nothing really. Because of those salvo markers, because of other penalties, all the hits they've taken, compounded 2 shots in a row taking hits, they just haven't gotten a lot of fire in comparatively. They basically took 2 rounds of fire to come up there, and I don't know. As always, I'm dangerous when I'm attacking, at least to my own units.